This video is brought to you by Squarespace. If you need a website or domain, go to squarespace.com. Hey everyone, and welcome to a new video. One of the most frustrating things as a photographer is when you start knowing what you're doing, have high hopes that you can come home with a good photo, only to find out that the photo has unusable amounts of noise, is too dark, too light, out of focus, or blurry. What's going on here? The challenge is that cameras are designed with lots of flexibility for the user. You're given lots of power to either take great photos in any way you want, or to screw them up royally. The good news is many modern cameras have built-in guardrails, settings designed for safety, to prevent the user from making mistakes that are too bad or unrecoverable. So in this video, I'm going to walk you through the camera settings that act as guardrails to protect you from these simple mistakes. Make sure you stay for my bonus tip, a one-button press for fast action settings so you're never caught off guard when something amazing happens. My name is Simon D'Entremont and I'm a professional nature and wildlife photographer living in Eastern Canada. I make weekly videos giving you photo tips or taking you behind the scenes for wildlife and nature photography. Subscribe if you want to see more. Okay, let's get into this. And I'm also going to cover many brands to make sure many users are covered, but note that within one brand, the menu selections for the same item may be different. Okay, I'm going to go over these in sections. Exposure guardrails, highlight and dynamic range guardrails, focus and sharpness, and usability guardrails. Let's start with the exposure guardrails. One of the issues you may be running into in your photography is coming home with noisy images. Maybe you had too fast a shutter speed for the available light, or you set your aperture to f22 by mistake, leading to not enough light and lots of noise. The good news is most cameras have a setting in them to set an upper limit to your ISO. When this hits the limit, your camera will change the aperture or shutter speed instead to allow more light onto your sensor. On my camera, a Canon R5, I can find that setting in the red menu, page 2, ISO speed settings, auto range. Here's where you can find that setting in some other brands. Another common problem when we come home is to find that our photos were blurry from not enough shutter speed. In some of the auto modes, program mode and aperture priority, your camera is setting the shutter speed for you. The trick here is to make sure the shutter speed doesn't go so low that your images are blurry. How do we do that? On my Canon camera, in the orange menu, page 2, set shutter speed range. You can set it to a shutter speed that you think is the minimum you need, maybe one over the focal length that you use the most. So 1/50th of a second for a 50mm lens, and 1/500th of a second for a 500mm lens. On some cameras, this calculation based on your focal length of the lens on the camera can be set to work automatically. Here's where you can find that setting on several popular brands. Probably the most important tool to fix exposure problems is exposure compensation. Anyone using any auto or semi-automatic mode really needs to learn this. What this does is allows you to override the exposure brightness your camera is recommending and make the image darker or brighter. Backlit bird in the sky too dark, add exposure compensation. A white subject in a dark scene too bright, darken with negative exposure compensation. Most cameras have this very easily accessible in the back LCD. Look for a light meter scale and this symbol. A better way to set it if you can is on a handy dial. On my camera, I set it to the ring around the mode dial by selecting Customize Controls, Customize Dials, select the dial I want, and choose Exposure Compensation. Now I can just adjust it even while looking in the viewfinder. Here's where you can adjust dials to program this on your camera. I'd like to thank the sponsor of this video, Squarespace. I built my own website using Squarespace and it was a breeze. A website is just a great way to have a professional place online where you can show off your work, your service, or your brand. Social media are often showing you or your work in short clips or thumbnail photos, and sometimes makes it difficult to monetize as they may not want links to external sites. A website is just a permanent home for you and your work presented in galleries or on pages designed by you to show them off at their best. There are lots of useful templates like ones for specific genres like photography, which is mine, or if you're more daring and artistic, you can go outside the templates using the new AI feature called Squarespace Blueprint to help you personally curate your own build. It's also a great way to monetize your work by setting up an online store so you can take payments by credit card or PayPal from all over the world. And now with a new added feature of buy now and pay later with ClearPay and Afterpay. Go to squarespace.com to sign up for a free trial, and when you're ready to launch, go to squarespace.com/Simon for 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain. Now let's move on to highlight guardrails. One of the most powerful tools for getting the right exposure level in your camera is the histogram, and in mirrorless cameras is available real-time right in the viewfinder. To avoid overexposure or blown out whites, make sure your histogram isn't touching the right-hand side. This is an easy way to keep a close tab on exposure levels, even in bright sun when the washed out back LCD or even the viewfinder isn't a reliable tool anymore. On my camera, pressing the back info button will cycle through various displays and will eventually show the histogram. Here's where you can turn on the histogram in your brand. While not as powerful as a histogram, there's another feature that's easier and simple to use. Blinkies. These are highlight alerts that blink when you overexpose parts of your photo. Just turn them on in the menus. On some cameras, they may be zebras or lines that move around when close to overexposure. On my Canon R5, it's under the blue menu, page 5, highlight alerts. Here's where you can find this setting on other brands. Another way to protect those highlights from overexposure is to get your files to have more dynamic range, and you can do that by shooting in RAW. JPEGs by design are only 8-bit files and include processing that may, by adding contrast, push up your whites into overexposed category. RAW files in many cameras these days can be 12 or 14-bit, so they can have way more data and dynamic range. On my camera, selecting between RAW and JPEG is the very first menu item in the menu. Page 1 of the red menu. Here's where to set that in other brands. By the way, there's a compromise setting in some cameras these days. 10-bit files, better than JPEG. There's a file format called HEIF that, while not as good as a RAW file, is better than a JPEG on my Canon camera. See if your camera supports this format. Okay, let's look at focus and sharpness guardrails. If your focus is regularly off, especially for moving subjects, your focus mode is likely the culprit. One-shot focus mode is meant for static targets, usually followed by a beep. But if your subject is moving, you want your focus to keep tracking. That's autofocus continuous, AFC on many cameras and AI servo on a Canon, which is the first setting in the AF menu. Here's that setting on other popular brands. Now, a more advanced focus problem is finally having something in focus when your camera refocuses on something else while you're shooting, like a branch or grass. This is a scenario where back button focus works well, as you can take photos without refocusing. To do this, you disengage focus from the shutter button half press and reassign it to a back button. On my Canon R5, you select Customize Controls, Customize Buttons, then select the AF On button and select Metering and AF Start. Here's where you can find this setting on other brands. One thing that can be handy in the field is having a quick way of checking to see if your focus is right. The traditional way is to hit the play button and scroll wheel to zoom. Let's replace that with a one-button press. On my camera, choose Customize Controls, Customize Buttons, then select the button you want to use. I use the Set button, then Magnify Images during playback. Then blue menu, page 4, Magnification 10 times, or same as last time you zoomed. Then after a shot, I just hit the Set button for a deep crop to check sharpness. Here are options for setting up your zoom on your camera. Now for workflow and usability guardrails. One thing that seems to get photographers into a lot of trouble is experimenting with settings and getting everything all messed up. Here's a quick workaround for this. Once you have your favorite settings all dialed in, save them to a custom mode, often available on your mode dial like C1, C2, etc. When you shoot and you want to start experimenting, use that custom setting. If you mess things up, just move the mode dial to another setting, then back to your custom setting and everything will be reset to where you started. Easy. On my camera, set the settings you want, then go to the yellow wrench menu, page 5, Custom Shooting Modes, Register Settings. Make sure Auto Update is set to Disable. Here are similar methods on other cameras. Another boo-boo in the field is running low on battery power or memory space, either sending you home early or switching cars and batteries during peak action. There's an easy fix for both. As for battery power, airplane mode is a great battery saver. I leave this on almost all the time. This disables things like Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, and GPS that uses lots of power. In my purple menu, airplane mode, on. Here it is on other brands. And what about full cards? When you're worried you may be running out of card space, switching to compressed RAW will double most cameras' photo capacity on your memory card. And even if the files are half the size, the quality is 99% as good as RAW. I use this all the time on Safari when I take thousands of photos daily, and it speeds up my workflow. On my camera, it's the first setting in the menus. Just switch to See RAW. Here's that setting on other brands. This one is a no-brainer, but we've all done it. Think we're taking photos, but have no card in the camera. On my camera, red menu, page 6, release shutter without card, off. Here's that setting in other brands. And I promised you a bonus tip. So many times I hear of people having amazing action happen right in front of them and missing it, saying, I wasn't ready. What if there was a one button press to make you ready? On many cameras, you can set a back button to recall any setting you want. On a Canon camera, go to Customize Buttons. I select the back star button, then Register Recall Shooting function. Then you hit Info and set the settings you want. I use 1/2000th of a second shutter speed, AI servo, and auto ISO. Here's a way to set up similar on your brand camera. Now, understanding your gear won't make you a better photographer, but it will free up your mind from worrying about these things so you can focus on what matters: composition, telling stories, finding unique subjects, and capturing amazing places. If you found this video deserving, give it a like and YouTube will show it to even more photographers looking to better understand their gear. And I hope you can use these tips to go out soon and get your own unique and amazing photos. I know you can do it.